Sit back, get ready, and let's kick off Mr. Dilly Meets Black History Month special. Joining me today, I've got three brilliant author guests coming up very soon. We have the wonderful Catherine Johnson, then we'll be followed by Tola Okogwu, and plus we have a pre-record from the brilliant Jeffrey Boakye at the end of the show today, as I said, in a few videos along the way to kind of inform and inspire you to this particular show's theme today. Before we meet Catherine, a short video from Freedom Is Mine Official, just a 1-minute video about what Black History Month actually is. Here we go.
Black History Month is a month dedicated to celebrating Black history. Although it's now global, the concept was pioneered in the United States. In 1926, a man named Dr. Carter G. Woodson established Black History Week to promote the teaching of America's Black history in public schools. In 1970, Kent State University hosted the first Black History Month on their campus. By 1976, the event was being observed across the country and was officially recognized by President Gerald Ford. In 1987, the Ghanaian-born activist Akiaba Adesebu worked with the Greater London Council to establish Black History Month in London. Today, it's celebrated by schools, institutions, and companies nationwide. In the US, Black History Month is celebrated in February to honor the birthdays of the abolitionist Frederick Douglass and the US President Abraham Lincoln. In the UK, it's celebrated in October so that Black children may begin their academic year with a sense of pride.
Brilliant. And thank you for Freedom Is Mine there for letting us show that video today. So that's what Black History Month is about. We're going to be finding more about it as we go on with lots of inspiration along the way. But it's time to introduce you to my first special live guest today. She is the author of many books, including Race to the Frozen North, Sawbones, and The Curious Tale of Lady Caribou. She's an award-winning author and screenwriter whose light shines kind of a light on untold Black British stories in a lot of her books. Her historical novels celebrate resilience, which is very, very important, creativity, and the power of people, all of us, who changed the world, even when history forgot them. So here today to talk about her latest books, Dance of Resistance, and also what Black History Month means to her. She can't see you, but put your hands together, get in the spirit. Big round of applause. Let's welcome Catherine Johnson. Hello, Catherine. Welcome to the show.
Hello. I hope you can hear me and see me. I've had horrible internet this morning, so
it's been a nightmare. I had yesterday. I think it's a residue from the storm yesterday. I think it could have knocked ours out earlier as well. So that's great. So, Catherine, brilliant to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us for Black History Month. So, I've got your book here. It's a wonderful book. Dance. Here we go. Look at it together. We've got this Dance of Resistance going on already. So tell us about Dance of Resistance. What is the book about, and who is it about, first of all?
Well, it's a non-fiction biography. So I've had to, obviously, I wasn't there, but I've done lots of research about this woman's life. There she is on the front. She's called Josephine Baker, and she wasn't British. She was born in America, but actually she became French. She lived in France, and she took French citizenship. And she was probably the first Black superstar ever. She was in a feature film. She was on stage. She started as a dancer, which is why it's called Dance of Resistance. And she was a comedian. She did the Charleston. If you've seen, Strictly, you'll know what a Charleston is. But it was said that her knees were incredible. But if you can look on the cover, she was very famous in France. Everybody wanted to look like her. Everybody wanted to be her. And this is her pet cheetah, because she loved animals. She had a whole menagerie once she got famous. But she started off when she was born in America, she was dirt poor. She was working from the age of about 7. So she had a very tough life. But so you've come back. I could go on.
I'm back. No, so you carry on. Sorry, carry on. Finish what you're saying. I just want to say, because I've got some pictures that you sent in of Josephine, so you can speak over them if you want. So you carry on what you're saying.
That would be lovely. It's because I think people in this country, we might have heard of her in the past, because she was mostly famous in the 20th century. She entertained troops in the war. And then after World War II, well, she wasn't just an entertainer in the war. She actually worked as a spy. So this is her at the beginning, and that's her cheetah. And like I said, she was a superstar. One of her most famous songs, J'ai deux amours, which she sang in French because she was in France. I have two loves. And because she felt French as well as American. And then the next slide is her in her wartime era, where she's entertaining the troops. She's on stage, probably it might have been in Morocco. She did come to Britain to entertain the troops. And she had a French Air Force uniform. She was part of the French Air Force. But her secret war was spying for the French resistance and the Allies, taking secrets over borders when people thought she was just going to entertain troops, but she would have important documents hidden in her.
At the same time, so she was entertaining, and then
yes.
So she was confident before the war, and then obviously she was known for that, and then somehow someone got to her and said, right, okay, you could spy. So she carried on with this.
Yes,
public.
Because she was glamorous and famous, and nobody would think that that Josephine Baker, she's just a dancer and a singer. But actually, she carried secrets across borders in terrible danger sometimes. And she hid soldiers on the run in her chateau in the south of France as well.
Wow, look at that. That is amazing story. So it's a silly question, really, considering what the things that you've just said about it. But what then sort of drew you? And we'll talk about a couple of the other characters you brought to life, from Black history, really, in a moment. But what drew you to her story, and did you know much about it beforehand? And was it sort of her bravery, her dancing, her activism? What was the sort of bit that drew you to her story?
She is a bit of an icon, because a lot of those posters of her in the 20s are you might see them referenced in other bits of art. So I'd never seen her before I wrote the book. I'd never seen film of her. I'd only seen either those photographs or those drawings. And it was only once I heard rumors that she was recruited by the French resistance. But it was only when I did the research that I found out that, yes, this was what she did. And it was that she was so, I think she was really important as a famous woman who used her celebrity to fight for freedom, really, because then after the war, she was involved in the civil rights movement in America. She sort of went back. She didn't live in America, but she was on the platform with Martin Luther King. And she was almost asked to take over. Well, she was asked to take over, but she said, no, look,
I can't. What this picture is here? Is this her back? Because this is a more modern one. So this one here, is this back in America?
Yeah, that's at the famous march in 1963 that was organized by Martin Luther King, where he gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. And you can see her medals. She was given by the French government after the war two of the most important medals that the French gives its citizens, the Légion d'honneur and the Croix de Guerre. And she was, after she died, she is celebrated in the Pantheon. Like in Britain, we put our kings and queens and famous poets and everything in Westminster Abbey. Well, in France, it's the Pantheon in Paris. And there's only 2 women in there, and she's one of them.
That's
and
incredible.
What I found out, she's the only Black woman on a European coin. Her face is on on the French euro coin as of 2 or 3 years ago. So
that's amazing. Do you think like her being Black, did you think that helped in a way her ability to spy in the way that maybe at the time certain people perceived her or something? Do you think that helped her or not?
I don't know. I think it was her celebrity, whether she had been maybe that meant that certain people didn't think as much of her as they might have, or thought that she was not as much of a threat. But I think her ethnicity helped her when she moved to France, because in America, when she started work in America, it was still segregated. Most of America was segregated by law. but the parts that weren't were sort of segregated by custom.
Can you just explain? Can you explain what that? Because some of the that they may not know what that is. Explain what that was in America. So explain a bit about that.
Well, what it meant was that black people and white people weren't allowed to use the same spaces. They weren't allowed to go to the same theatres. They weren't allowed to go to the same restaurants. They weren't allowed to use the same. We might have heard of Rosa Parks on the bus. Schools were segregated, black children and white children, until after I was born, actually, weren't in the South of America, didn't go to the same schools by law. Obviously, in other parts of America, this happened informally. Mixed marriages were not the law in America until 1967, which was after I was born.
Going to ask you, so, when that changed, that's when it was. Yeah. That's when it sort of changed.
Yeah, 67. Yeah. So, you know, her life in France enabled her to see a world where she could. Actually, she says, I mean, in the reading I'm going to read, the first time she sat down to eat with white people was in Paris. It was incredibly freeing because she could walk down any street, she could go into any shop, and it was a new thing for her.
That must have been. Do you imagine that sense of freedom? I mean, I think freedom, that's the thing. I mean, a part of Black History Month is, as you were talking about, that sort of sense of freedom and freedom for us all. And freedom's such a fragile thing, isn't it? It's such a fragile thing, you know? So, and you can see it there for her. You imagine that must have been absolutely incredible to do that, wasn't it? Just suddenly just be able to get up and I'm going to go for a walk. And I'm going to walk in where I like. And I imagine that we don't even think about it, do we? But I mean, that is a huge thing. That is a huge thing. That's amazing.
And the French loved her. There were dolls of her in the shop. A bit like Rihanna has her own makeup brand now. She had her own hair styling stuff and, skin oil. She was at the forefront of all this kind of massive celebrity, which we sort of take for granted now, you know.
We do. It's amazing. I think you just mentioned a reading. Could you give us a reading, and then we'll have a couple more questions about Josephine as well and your book, and then we'll talk a little bit about Black History Month, what that means to you and your other kind of work that you've done in the past, if that's okay. So I hand over to you, Catherine. Give us a little reading of Dance of Resistance. Here we go.
Hello, I'm going to read the beginning, which is chapter 1, because I think it's easier to read the beginning of the book. I wish I could do an American accent, but I can't. So you're stuck with me. The audiobook's very good for this. Chapter 1, East St. Louis, USA. Some people say I changed the world. I like that. I reckon this world needs a heap of changes. My name is Josephine Baker. I was a superstar. Maybe even the first Black superstar in the world. I was born in the heat of summer. I don't remember just how hot it was, but my birthday was June the 3rd, 1906. My mama's name was Carrie. She told me my daddy was a man called Eddie Carson who played the drums, but sometimes she said she didn't know who my daddy was. Some people say he was a white man, which would explain why I was a different color to the rest of my family. Mama married a man named Arthur, who wasn't mean like some folk. Mama and Arthur had 3 more babies. There was my brother Richard, who we called Brother Cat at home, and my 2 baby sisters, Margaret and Willie Mae. My nickname was Tumpy, given to me by Mama because I was fat and round as Humpty Dumpty. We lived close to the rail tracks in East St. Louis. Me and Richard spent our childhood running wild with a gang of children. We'd steal coal from the train yards and watch the pleasure boats that ran up and down the river. But when we had enough pennies, there was only one thing I ever wanted to do. Go to our local theatre, the Booker T. Washington, and watch the shows. Come on, Tumpy, said Brother Cat one day, tugging on my arm. I want to go see the boats. Both of us had just come home from school, but I'd made a few cents running an errand on the way. Go look at the boats if you want to. See them so bad, I told him. I'm going to the theatre. That afternoon show was a little troop of performing dogs. They were ever so sweet and funny. Next to me, my brother squealed with laughter as they stood on their back legs and hopped around. But my eyes were on the man who told us their names and gave them their instructions. The way he talked about those dogs made it feel like we were looking at the smartest animals that ever lived. Even back then, I knew what I wanted. Not those little dogs doing tricks, but the audience watching that man hanging off his every word. Brother Cat loved the performing dogs, but I loved the music and the dancers at the theatre. Nothing made my heart sing like hearing that music play and watching the dancing girls and boys. One day, I told myself, that would be me.
Wow, brilliant. Fantastic introduction. Black History Month obviously is this month. We've just done a video to sort of introduce children to it and why it's different months here and in the US and stuff. What two parts of this question really? The first part is really, what does Black History Month mean to you as a person and as an author? And why do you think it's important or interesting for children to explore artists and performers as a part of that? Kind of linking back to sort of your story of Josephine. So let's have the first bit first. Why is it important to you, first of all?
Well, I wish, actually, I mean, I'm British, I'm Black, I'm English. I was, born in my parents' front room. I was born in London, and like a lot, I don't live there anymore, but I'm still English. And I think it's more important than just 1 month. I think in an ideal world, it would just be history, because it's all our history. It's not just Black history. How we came to be here. And I tell you what, I love doing research, and I've just been looking at my archive, the archives of a county next door to me in Kent. And I found that in the archives, this is only written down, the first the mention of a Black Briton is a man called Hadrian, who lived in 670 in a monastery in Canterbury. And that is thousands of years ago. So what I'm interested and why I love history is because it says to people like me is, we belong here. This is our country. This is all our country. And Black history is British history. It's all part of our history. And that's why it's important. And sorry, is that just the first part? I can't remember.
No, the second part is because this actually links into what Jeffrey Boakye, the pre-record with Jeffrey later on, who's a huge music fan as well, and talks about Black artists in history and stuff, and it's really inspirational to still stick around for that. Obviously, your book's about a performer as well. Do you think why is it important, or why is it really interesting for children to learn about artists and performers like Josephine Baker, but obviously there's loads of others that kind of to bring to life that story?
I think if you are poor in the past, and if you were one of the ways that are open to you, to make something of yourself is in the arts. Power is very much is very often contained within the establishment, and if you are an outsider of any kind, it's really hard to get yourself noticed. So being an artist is one of the few ways, or a sportsman, in fact, is one of the few ways that you can get yourself noticed. I think hopefully the playing field's a bit more level now. So it's important to know that there were all sorts of people doing all sorts of things throughout history, is what I'd say.
Did you think, in terms of Josephine Baker, her sort of what she believed, and not just through her art, but obviously what she did personally, and then obviously her spying and the whole incredible story of her, it's a real sort of fight for sort of equality and freedom, isn't it, in a sense, in all different ways.
Yeah.
How do you think that that can connect to children's lives today, in terms of in their schools, in their friendships, or anything else like that?
Well, I think it's all about belonging. And Josephine found that she could belong, and that she was taken to the hearts of the French population. And I think that's really important, to know that one can put down roots anywhere if you want to, but you can also use whatever you're good at, whether it's dancing or singing or writing or talking or sport, to enrich one's own life and the life of one family and the life of your friends. I think being allowed to shine is really important.
That's a great message. Just to go over some of your other books, that not all of them, but they obviously they bring to life lots of figures. I'm thinking about Matthew Henson, which some of the children may have heard of, and other characters. And your book sort of often sort of uncover these not saying they're necessarily forgotten, but they're kind of slightly sidelined, figures of history. And then you look at their stories and you think, well, that's amazing, And what draws you to those kind of hidden corners of history, do you think?
Very often I'm doing research for something and I might come across somebody in the line of research for something else, and you just go, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Not with Matthew Henson. I had a long love affair with polar exploration from when I was a small child. I don't want to go there. It's fine. I like warmth. But if you find out things and you think, oh my gosh, I need to put that in a book. I'm writing about someone now at the moment that I found out for research in something else. And you just think, oh my gosh, what a story. So it's that you've got to be enthused yourself before you can put it in the book. And it's almost like, look at this, look what I found. This is really interesting.
Well, there's the thing of the power of reading, though, isn't it, as well? You literally do it and you go, I've done the same thing. I don't know if anyone's done it watching, or the teacher's watching, you read something, you think, oh, what's that about? That links to that links to that. And suddenly you find yourself over here, and it's amazing, isn't it, what you can discover? Could you set us set the children a kind of a creative, this is a creative challenge. You can write this down, teachers, for your classroom. You can do it or not, but it's be fun. A creative challenge sort of based possibly on Josephine Baker or the Dance of Resistance in any way. Any ideas for that?
Well, I don't know. There's so many, apart from actually just getting up and doing a dance, which I'm sure will cause a lot of trouble. Don't do that now. Maybe
don't encourage the teachers. They start backflipping around the classroom. I know what you like.
I would love that. But also, I mean, you look at someone like her life. The way I got into her was through the fashion of the time. But there's a million ways of doing it. Could be with codes. You could look at codes. How could you encode a secret message? How could you, what would you do if you had to give a speech on your favorite subject? There's so much. I'd say go and read the book.
I think that's a good book. Go and read the book. Okay, give us. Here we go. Dance with us. You can see Josephine on the front there. Give us the final, a last couple of words. This is it's wonderful. I always big up their books, Barrington Stoke, because they're really, if you find reading difficult, so they're great publisher to get into, because they have a certain number of words you're allowed, which must be a challenge, I imagine, as an author in certain ways. But they're also good if you struggle with reading or dyslexic, they're brilliant for you in that sort of sense. But so that's a big up for Barrington Stoke. But okay, and for your book, give us a last comment. We sell this one. Give us a last couple of sentences of in this Black History Month, linked to that maybe, and linked to Josephine, why we should go and read this amazing story, really.
Well, I think Josephine, and also apparently in America they have Josephine Baker Day, which is on the 20th of May, which is my birthday. But apart from that, her life is just one from incredible poverty to superstardom. It's a real rags to riches, and almost back to rags again, but not quite. She has an incredible life. It's unbelievable. If you wrote it as a story, nobody would believe you ever. So I think that's a good enough reason to read about her, if nothing else.
I think, listen, Catherine, it's been an absolute joy and listening to you. I'm sure the children agree. Your enthusiasm for what you write about, and Josephine and everything, is absolutely wonderful to hear. Thank you so much for being on today. Good luck with Dance of Resistance, and big wave. Give us a big shout wave. Yeah, and a round of applause. Thanks, Catherine. Lovely to meet you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wasn't that wonderful? Catherine Johnson there. Okay, now our next live guest, Tola, is coming up very, very soon. But before that, I showed this last year for Black History Month, and I probably show it every year as long as I do these shows, because it's such an inspiring little poem. It's from a poet. She was a poet, a writer, a civil rights activist called Maya Angelou. She's not with us anymore, but her words have inspired millions around the world, and I thought they could inspire you today. She really spoke with such kind of grace and truth and dignity about never giving up, no matter what life throws at you. And this poem she speaks about now and is going to talk to you about is a little edit, a little reduced poem. It's about the triumph of the human spirit, and it doesn't matter whoever you are, wherever you come from. It's about what connects us. And I think Catherine mentioned that as well. It's about all our history. It's all part of who we are, for good, for bad as well. So let's have a little of this, and then we're back with Tola in a moment. So Maya Angelou, here we go.
Everyone in the world has gone to bed one night or another with fear or pain or loss or disappointment. And yet each of us has awakened, arisen, somehow made our ablution, seen other human beings, and said, "Morning, how are you? Fine, thanks, and you?" It's amazing. Wherever that abides in the human being, there is the nobleness of the human spirit. Despite it all, black and white, Asian, Spanish, Native American, pretty, plain, thin, fat, we rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom just because I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just because I laugh. As if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain, I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, naturally, there I go rising.
Look at that wonderful Maya Angelou there. Black history, world history, our shared human history. Now it's time to welcome my next live guest. She is a British Nigerian writer, a journalist, a champion for empowering children to see themselves in the stories they read. Her books blend adventure, which is always good, like a bit of adventure, identity, and themes of courage, belonging, and self-belief. She's the author of the best-selling Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun series. And she's here to talk about a new book, which is Champions of the Galaxy. Please welcome Mr. Dilly Meets, I've got my own name, Tola Okogwu. Here we go. Hello, Tola. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Dilly. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here.
Oh, it's lovely to see you, Tola. Thank you very much. Lovely listening to Catherine there, and it's great to have you on. So, Champions of the Galaxy. Tell us a little bit about the book, and then we're going to ask you a little bit more about some of the characters and the themes, and then about what you think about Black History Month as well. So tell us a little bit about the story of this. Here we go.
Certainly. So Champions of the Galaxy is my newest book. It is very much a science fiction book. It's a sci-fi book, which I really love because I'm a big fan of science fiction. And I want you to imagine, if you will, that you're minding your own business. It's a weekend, no school, you're in your house doing whatever it is you do to chill, to relax, and suddenly an alien spaceship appears above your house. Now in the book, it actually appears above the Houses of Parliament. For these purposes, imagine it appears above your house. And these aliens, turn up. Now everybody's freaked out, all the adults especially. The children, they're a little bit curious. I would be a little bit afraid, but you might be a little bit curious, a little bit nervous, a little bit excited. And so the adults, they're very scared, very nervous. And they're like, finally kind of get a chance to contact these aliens, and they're like, "Hi aliens, how can we help you?" And the aliens are like, "Well, hi." And the adults are like, "Hi, how can we help you?" And the aliens are like, "Well, we're really nice aliens, we just came to say hi." But there is another group of aliens who aren't so nice, who are on their way to Earth, who are planning to destroy Earth. Now, the adults are super freaked out at this point because they're like, "Oh no, this is not good." And so they're like, "Okay, thank you for telling us, but, do you plan to help us at all? And the aliens are like, yes, we do. We really do want to help you. But before we do, we just need to check something, because we've watched Earth's TV. We've seen your reality TV shows. We've seen the state of your planet. We're not convinced, that maybe we should help you. So if you could just prove that humans are worth saving, then we'll help you. And the adults are like, okay, how do we do that? And the aliens are like, well, if you could just send 91 of your children up to space to our spaceship to hang out, go through some trials, nothing too big. We won't hurt anybody, we promise. And then, depending on how they do, we might help you out. Now, you can all think about it. What do you think the adults said in this situation? Mr. Dilly, what do you think the adults said?
I think no.
No. They said yes. They said have all of
They said yes. No, yeah.
They said yes. I wouldn't have a book if they didn't. They said yes. And my main character, Tola, is one of these children who gets sent up to space. He gets put in a pod with 3 other children, and together they have to go through these trials and basically prove that humans are worth saving. Now, in this pod of 4 children, lots of different personalities. They come from different countries from all over the world, different ages. They don't necessarily get on too well at first, so they have to figure out how to work together, because the future of Earth, humanity is on the line.
Well, that leads us nicely into the sort of wider themes of the book about working together, and the future of humanity is on the line. That's quite a big thing for the moment. So that's well done, nice link. That's very, very good. Okay, so you mentioned about sometimes they don't get on well and stuff. So Colin's your main kind of character and stuff. So tell us a little bit about him, and how does he have those moments? We all have these moments. The children watching have these moments when you have to choose between one thing or another. There's the easy choice, and then there's the hard one, and which one you're going to do. What sort of choices does Colin have to make in there that kind of bring him those difficult decisions that we all have to make, that the children would definitely, all of us will relate to?
Yeah, Kola is definitely what you'd call a quiet hero. He's an introvert. Kola, he's very obsessed with space. He wants to be an astrophysicist when he grows up. And, maybe he's that kid that's always talking about space and has lots of facts and is not too shy necessarily about sharing them with everybody. But, he doesn't do well in, situations with lots of other children or speaking up. And so for him, whilst he's excited about going to space, because he was training to be an astronaut and the first child in space when the aliens turned up, and that canceled that mission. So this new chance to go to space, he's really excited. What he's not excited about is the idea of these 90 other children, and even more so when he gets put into this pod. And so for him, it's sort of figuring out his place in this team and also finding his voice. And so he's having to go through lots of different scenarios and situations where, there's everyone's talking, everybody has an opinion, and he does too. But he's finding it difficult to speak up, and he's got to learn that lesson of the moments when it is important to speak up. It is important to find your voice, because all of us have a way that we can contribute, especially in terms of working together, working in a team. And so that's his journey. And so he is definitely my quiet hero who discovers his voice over the course of the story.
Really interesting you say that, actually, because I'm sort of echoing what Jeffrey sort of touches on later on, in that sense of everyone brings something different. And I think that's the thing with what Colin does in this story. Everyone brings something different, and it's just finding out that, all right, you're not like that, but you're like this, and that's fine. And it's just figuring out what the bit you can give, because sometimes being the loudest voice in the room isn't necessarily the way forward, is it?
Yeah.
In fact, very infrequently is it the way forward. You need to sort of stop a little bit and think about it. The alien world and the aliens you created, what any particular sort of details or aspects of that you really love kind of thinking about and kind of creating? Were you a big sci-fi fan anyway?
Oh yes. Yeah. I'm a total Trekkie. I grew up watching Star Trek, Generations, Voyager. Those were my sort of things when I was growing up. So I love that. My favorite sort of science fiction book is Ender's Game. So I really do. So it was really exciting for me to build this alien work. It was daunting. An alien world. It was daunting because everything has to be created from scratch, and my aliens are very different from sort of human beings. They're not carbon based, they're sort of light based beings. So I had to sort of invent a whole new way for them to move and to emote, and for you to be able to sense what they're feeling, because we read people through our expressions, our body language, but what does body language for an alien made of light that sort of looks like a squid, what does that look like? So that was a lot of fun to sort of create that physicality.
That's quite hard, isn't it?
Yeah. It wasn't easy.
Okay, We're gonna that's gonna be Tola's next book, Body Language for Squids.
Yeah.
It's a title. It goes like that. Okay, can you give us a little reading, and then we've got a couple more questions about Champions of the Galaxy as well, and then we talk to you a bit more about Black History Month, if that's okay. So I'll hand over to you for that, Tola. Here we go.
Thank you. So I'm going to read from chapter called The Meal, and it's basically where our 4 champions, it's in between trials, and they're finally forced to sit down, have a meal together, and sort of hash out some of the issues they've been having. And so our 4 characters are Kola, Daejin, Achan, and Thea. Why do you do that? Kola asked Daejin. Daejin blinked at him. Do what? Say sorry, even for things that aren't your fault. It had long been bothering Kola, and Daejin's eyebrows crinkled. I do? Thea nodded eagerly, as if glad the attention was finally off her. I've noticed it too. Daejin grimaced, then rubbed the back of his neck. I'm so used to doing things wrong and getting criticized for it. Because of my ADHD, I see the world a bit differently to neurotypical people. I don't always know when I've broken an unspoken rule or why people think I've done something wrong until someone gets upset. It's easier to apologize first, I guess. Wow, that's deep, Thea said. Then she gave Achan a pointed look and cleared her throat with an exaggerated cough. I can't imagine why anyone would constantly criticize another person like that. Achan shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I just have high standards, Thea snorted. High standards? You haven't stopped digging at us since we all met. Achan turned a narrowed stare on Thea. Are you saying I'm difficult? You can be a bit sharp, Daejin cut in before Thea could reply. When? Achan asked, looking genuinely perplexed. Every time you open your mouth, Thea supplied with a roll of her eyes. Kola snickered before he could stop himself, and Achan turned accusing eyes on him. Her mouth opened, ready to blast him. But when Daejin and finally Thea started laughing too, her mouth closed with a snap. Fine, I can be difficult. My mother says it's because of my big brain. It scares people, so I get defensive and push people away first. Everyone is usually too intimidated to tell me off or call me out on it. Achan pushed at the asida on her plate and sighed. My family isn't, though. I miss them. And because I was sent here, I have no way of knowing if they're okay after the recent floods in South Sudan. I'm worried about them. My family's big, and that's without all the cattle and animals. Daejin leaned over and gave Achan a gentle pat. For the first time, she didn't complain or move away. I'm sure they're okay. I miss my brother too. Daedwan is the only person who doesn't seem to mind the way my brain works. He said I'd make a great champion. I think he's right, Kola said quietly. Daejin blinked several times at the unexpected compliment. Then he looked away. Who do you miss? Thea asked Kola. My family, especially my sister Simi. Kola looked down at his plate of food. She has sickle cell disease, he said quietly. She's always in pain, and when I left, she was sick again. Each time is worse than the last, and I'm worried that one day she won't get better. My parents have been trying to find new medicines and ways to improve things for her, but there's just not enough research being done on sickle cell. It mostly affects Black people, so it doesn't get much funding. Kola looked at Achan then. I know it's not the same as not having enough food, but I do understand about the world being unfair. It's why I wanted to be a champion so badly. Since the Oni can help treat cancer, maybe they can help Simi too. And if we secure the Oni's help and defeat the Alliance, we might finally be able to make things on Earth better for everyone.
Brilliant. There's a load in there, isn't there? That's amazing. There's lots in there. I'm sure a lot of the children can identify with it. That's really, really brilliant. You're known, of course, also from the Onyeka series, where the Afro has special powers.
Yes,
It is amazing. How have so check them out if you haven't read them. Very, very good. How have readers responded to seeing heroes? Obviously, in that series, obviously this is just out. Who look like them, and what's that meant to you personally? Do you think?
The response has been phenomenal. It's been amazing. Like, I'm always getting letters or messages on social media or people reaching out when I do events and stuff, telling me about how it's been amazing for them to see a character like Onyeka, who, you know, they can see themselves in, but also who's in the role of a superhero, who is, you know, the hero of the story. She's not the sidekick. She is fully, firmly, you know, at the front, and also to have her power come for something that is so unique to Black people, to Black women and Black girls, you know. And I've had both young women older women and young girls and even boys tell me how much it's meant to them, because with people with Afro textured hair, there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of negativity historically tied to it. And, you know, a lot of work is being done to reclaim that narrative and to, you know, help people to see the beauty and the joy, and help ourselves see the beauty and the joy in our hair. And so that's how that character came about, my own journey to love my own hair. And so it was exciting for me. It literally, the story came from a simple thought. What if a character, what if this girl thinks, you know, there's something wrong with her, that there's this thing about her that is a problem that needs to be fixed. And one day she discovers that actually it is the source of her power. How amazing would that be? What would that look like?
It's interesting that, isn't it? Because that's often the case, isn't it, in all of us?
Yeah.
The things that you think aren't quite sort of, oh, they don't fit with that, or, you know, what's wrong with this? Actually, if you actually look at it a different way, it can actually be the source of great strength and power, can't it? And
it is
that sort of that uniqueness, which we sort of, you know, we're going to speak about more as the show goes on. Black History Month. What does it mean to you personally, as a kind of a topic, as a theme?
I definitely echo what Catherine said, in that I believe that Black History Month isn't just a month. You know, it is history. It's everybody's history. It's world history, you know, from the idea that, you know, modern humans came out of Africa, to when you look at the technological engineering advances of different cultures throughout. Black history is history. And I, you know, for me, Black History Month is definitely an opportunity and a time to celebrate that, to highlight achievements, you know, also to learn, because a lot of mistakes have been made in the past. And if we never talk about it, we can't learn from it, which means there's a high chance that we could repeat those mistakes again in the future. So I love that about the month, but I definitely feel that it's important that we don't just limit Black history to 1 month, that we don't limit ourselves to just narratives or stories about pain and suffering, because also a lot of joy, resilience, creativity, and excellence that can be celebrated. And as has already been mentioned, that it's for everyone. It's not just for Black people, you know. So yeah, that's how I feel.
well said. I mean, the sort of the title of this show, next to Black History Month, is Stories That Shape Us. But that's all of us, isn't it? Because they're all connect together, or we don't, but we all do connect together, because anything any one of us does affects someone else, and that affects someone else. So it, as you rightly say, Catherine says, and Jeffrey says the same thing later on, really, about it's all our history. It's all part of the same sort of human story, which is amazing. Thinking about, just going back to sort of Black characters and Black people that are inspirations. Catherine was talking about Josephine Baker as a dancer and other figures in the arts. Jeffrey would talk about musicians a bit later on. Is there any particular sort of scientists or astronauts or inventors that have kind of really inspired you, that kind of have a sort of are Black in that sort of sense, that maybe we've heard of, but maybe we haven't heard of? Any particular ones?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, because for me, one of the big things I always try to do in all of my books, from the Onyeka series to, you know, this new one, Champions of the Galaxy, is to put as much sort of information, because I love information, I love knowledge, I love learning. And so the opportunity to help children discover things that they might not ordinarily have done so in the past. For example, in Champions, I talk about the Sankore Mosque in Timbuktu, Mali, so a country called Mali in Africa. And, you know, that is amazing architecture that people might not have come across before. Champions is all about space, astrophysics, science. And so I have a few scientists that I really, really love. So for example, Katherine Johnson, she's a mathematician, technically, an American mathematician, whose calculation, she worked for NASA. She was called a human computer, and her calculations made it possible for the early space missions to happen with NASA. So her calculations made it possible to get the astronauts up and back down safely. And she's literally changed the course of space travel. Another scientist that I really love is Mae Jemison, who is an astronaut, but she's also a medical doctor and an engineer. She's the first African-American woman in space. She's also the first real astronaut to appear on an episode of Star Trek, which I think is super, super, super cool. Dr. Maggie Aderin Pocock is another one. She's a British Nigerian space scientist and science communicator. She hosts the BBC's The Sky at Night. She also, really interesting enough, has dyslexia and grew up being told that she wouldn't amount to anything, and that, you know, she should kind of think smaller. And she kind of said, no, I can do it. If anything I can put my mind to, I can achieve. And I love that attitude.
Was that I don't know this. I haven't seen the movie, and it's on the sort to watch it. There's a movie called Hidden Figures.
Yeah, Hidden Figures. Yes,
Catherine Johnson.
Yes, Catherine Johnson.
One of those.
Okay, yeah.
That's really, really good. Okay, so like Catherine Johnson did before. What's have you got a creative challenge that you could set the children based on Black History Month or your book or a mixture of both? So I'll hand over to you for that. Here we go.
Fantastic.
So, ready teachers, here we go.
My challenge is based very much about Champions of the Galaxy and Kola and his three friends, Dejin, Atchan, and Thea, who are all from different countries: America, South Sudan, South Korea, and Britain. And they have to come together and work together as a team in this pod. So I'd like you to try and create your own pod of champions. They can be from any country that you like, and each of them should have a unique skill. So I want you to think about how the champions, how their country of origin or their background shapes that unique skill. So for Atchan, who's from South Sudan, she has a photographic memory, and she uses that working for her government to kind of find sort of issues and problems and spotting kind of patterns and stuff. I also want you to think about how the individual skills would work together as a team, and then also a weakness that they could or need to overcome together. And then once you've created your pod of champions, then I want you to think about creating a trial for them to go through. In the book, there are 8 trials that the aliens set. So I want you to come up with a 9th trial. And in that trial, think about that it needs to test teamwork. So it's all about testing the pod's ability to work together as a team, not just their individual skill, even though each one will bring that individual skill to play. But also you need try and include a riddle or some sort of puzzle element to make it interesting and fun. And then try and embed a lesson in it about unity and trusting one another. And
that's plenty there. That's a whole day's work for the class. There you go.
Take your time with it.
They're all in there. That's fantastic. So listen, Champions of the Galaxy is out now. Of course, the Onyeka series are available from all good bookshops and online, of course, as well. But it leaves me to say thank you very much for being part of Black History Month, Tola. Lovely to meet you all. Let's give Tola a big round of applause.
Thank you for having me.
Lovely to meet you. Take care. Thank you very much. So that's Tola there. Okay, right. We've got Jeffrey Boakye coming up soon with our pre-record with him. Don't miss it. It's brilliant. It's even got a rap in it. I know. It's really, really good. Before we do that, I've got a little video. Again, I showed this last year because I think it just amplifies the message of what all the authors have said is that and it reminds us that before color or labels, we are all human, connected by kindness, dreams, and understanding. And this is from Prince EA, who you might be familiar with from YouTube. And it's called I Am Not Black, You Are Not White. About 4 minutes long. And then we're back with Jeffrey after that. Here we go.
I am not black. I mean, that's what the world calls me, but it's not me. I didn't come out of my mother's womb saying, hey, everybody, I'm black. No, I was taught to be black. And you were taught to call me that, along with whatever you call yourself. It's just a label. See, from birth, the world force feeds us these labels. And eventually we all swallow them. We digest and accept the labels, never ever doubting them. But there's one problem. Labels are not you and labels are not me. Labels are just labels. But who we truly are is not skin deep. See, when I drive my car, no one would ever confuse the car for me. Well, when I drive my body, why do you confuse me for my body? It's my body. Get it? Not me. Let me break it down. See, our bodies are just cars that we operate and drive around. The dealership we call society decided to label mine the black edition, yours the Irish or white edition. And with no money down, 0% APR, and no test drive, we were forced to own these cars for the rest of our lives. Forgive me, but I fail to see the logic or pride in defining myself or judging another by the cars we drive. Because who we truly are is found inside. Listen, I'm not here to tell you how science has concluded that genetically we're all mixed and race in the human species doesn't exist, or how every historian knows that race was invented in the 15th century to divide people from each other and it has worked perfectly. No, I'm not here to lecture. I just want to ask one question. Who would you be if the world never gave you a label? Never gave you a box to check? Would you be white, black, Mexican, Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern, Indian? No, we would be one. We would be together. no longer living in the era of calling human beings black people or white people. These labels that will forever blind us from seeing a person for who they are, but instead seeing them through the judgmental, prejudicial, artificial filters of who we think they are. And when you let an artificial label define yourself, then my friend, you have chosen smallness over greatness and minimized yourself, confined and divided yourself from others. And it is an undeniable fact that where there is division, there will be conflict, and conflict starts wars. Therefore, every war has started over labels. It's always us versus them. So the answer to war, racism, sexism, and every other ism is so simple that every politician has missed it. It's the labels. We must rip them off. Isn't it funny how no baby is born racist, yet every baby cries when they hear the cries of another, no matter the gender, culture, or color, proving that deep down we were meant to connect and care for each other. That is our mission, and that is not my opinion. That is the truth. In a world that has sold us fiction, please listen, labels only distort our vision, which is why half of those watching this will dismiss it or feel resistance and conflicted. But just remember, so did the caterpillar before it broke through its shell and became the magnificent butterfly. Well, these labels are our shells, and we must do the same thing so we can finally spread our wings. Human beings were not meant to be slapped with labels like groceries and supermarkets. DNA cannot be regulated by the FDA. We were meant to be free, and only until we remove them all and stop living and thinking so small will we be free to see ourselves and each other for who we truly are.
Final guest on this Stories That Shape Us Black History Month special. He's been on before. I can't believe it. It's actually about 3 years ago with the first book in the series. He's now back from the third book in the series, and it's Kofi and the Brand New Vibe. Please welcome to Mr Dilly Stories That Shape Us Black History Month special, Jeffrey Boakye. Here we go. Hello, Jeffrey. How you doing?
Hello, Mr Dilly. Great
Lovely
to be in the same square again.
We're back in the same square, which is a great thing. So, Jeffrey, so listen. So, as I said, I can't believe it's 3 years or something since the first one of these came out. For those who aren't familiar with Kofi and the story so far, kind of thing, I know it's kind of difficult to summarize essentially 2 books leading into the third one. But tell us a little about who Kofi is, a little bit about his world, and what readers can expect from your book and these 3 books. So, I hand over to you for that.
All right, let's go. So Kofi is, he starts off as an 11-year-old boy, crucial time in your life, transitioning into secondary school. And he's the kind of kid that gets into trouble a lot. He's very, very cheeky. He's very, very funny. And some teachers think he's naughty, but he's got big ambitions and big ideas, and he wants to be really successful in life. The story's set in the 1990s, which was deliberate because that's when I was a boy and that's when I was growing up. So it's almost like historical fiction for modern young readers, because the 1990s was a long time ago for anyone that wasn't there. And essentially, Kofi goes to school and he discovers that he's got all these new friends and all these new interests that have entered his life. And one of them happens to be music. So he realizes that there's a way of making some money here. And that kicks off the whole adventure. How can Kofi turn his new love of music, specifically hip hop and rap lyrics, into a money-making scheme? Because his mind's always making ways of making money. So that is the beginning of the story. And from there, adventure, humor.
So where's he find himself in this? And we got kind of a brand new guy who's a bit of competition for him.
That's right. That's right.
So tell us about where he is and who this sort of antagonist character is in this.
Will do. Well, in the second book, he stumbles across a secret radio station, and that leads to some huge success where he and his friends basically become a really popular local radio crew. But that draws the attentions of other rappers in the area who want to muscle in and get some notoriety themselves. And one of them is a very, very intense rapper called Sniper. And Sniper wants the top spot. So suddenly Kofi and his friends have a bit of competition, and they have to work out, can they work against or with Sniper? How's that going to pan out? And also, are they going to maintain the top spot in this world of local rappers and radio crews? So that is where the Brand New Vibe kicks off. And there's also a new youth club which enters the scene. And I won't say too much else about the youth club, but it opens the world quite wide, actually, quite wide.
Brilliant. Well, what's Kofi sort of really learning, do you think, from the book about success when the sort of competition sort of comes? Is there other sort of things he sort of starts learning about himself and actually what success is in terms of that?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, because essentially Kofi is a leader, right? He gets in trouble all the time, but even his teachers can see that people naturally gravitate towards him. And he's working out how to be a leader of his friends, but also how to manage his own ambitions. And he's also working out what true friendship means, because one of his best friends, Kelvin, is the exact opposite of Kofi. All good books, you've got these kind of foils. Kelvin doesn't like to speak. He's not very outgoing. He has a stutter, and he's a brilliant rapper, and Kofi's not. So he works out, what does friendship mean when you've got ambitions, and how do you balance those two things? And he has to learn lessons along the way about being a real friend, a true friend, but also how difficult it can be to be a leader and take responsibility. Tricky stuff.
It is tricky stuff. Music, for those who are familiar with Kofi books or not, or Jeffrey's other work, Jeffrey's and it's demonstrated in these books, huge music fan as well. He wrote, I've got this right, haven't I? A non-fiction book called Musical Truth.
Musical Truth, yeah, precisely. Musical Truth.
And it's a great book. So it's great for also for Black History Month, because is it like 20? There we go, 28. Is it 28? Modern Black British artists. Tell us about that, and then
that's it.
We're linking back to the music and Kofi a bit. Tell us about that. And
Musical Truth is basically a playlist of songs by mainly Black British artists, going from the sort of early 20th century up until contemporary 21st century. So you will have heard of some of the artists who are more recent, but some of the older artists, you might have never heard their music. And through that journey of listening to these songs, you can tell a story of Black British communities in Britain, and what some of the narratives have been, what some of the struggles have been, some of the ideas, the celebrations. And I think that music is such a great way of holding stories and celebrating, but also talking about the truth. Hence why the book is called Musical Truth, because I'm trying to tell the truth through music. There you go.
Well, it's connecting, sort of. It's like making people understand. It's great because it makes people understand the past a bit through music and heritage through music and stuff. And that links directly back. See, we did that, Jeffrey. Back to Kofi. Here we go. So Kofi in this. So a lot of kids obviously listen to music, all sorts of different sorts of music, or they listen to sort of audio books or podcasts, all that kind of stuff in this book. If there was anyone watching, maybe with some mates or maybe on their own, that they wanted to create their own sort of podcast or just sort of think of an idea around it and stuff like that. What's your advice, thinking about Kofi, really, the first thing they could do? Is it good to have a team together, or just go out there and do it by yourself? Any thoughts about that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. The first thing you want to do is realize that there's strength in numbers. And that doesn't just mean get loads of people to all do the same thing. Everyone's got a different skill. So Kofi, in Brand New Vibe, he realizes that some of his friends are really good at kind of getting the energy going. Some of his friends are really confrontational. Some of his friends, like Kelvin, are really thoughtful and they think about things more than once. So you want to play to everyone's strengths. And I think that is the best way of getting a team up and running. So if one person has got loads of knowledge about one thing, or one person's a really, really good artist, and one person's really careful and likes doing like lists and plans, use the strengths of the whole team. And that means that what you end up with is usually going to be much better than if one person tries to do everything. That's my top tip of how to work.
No, it's really good advice. That is what's hard is basically is realizing, I suppose, this is for all of us. Even when you get to adults, kids, is that the thing is that you've got more things that you're probably not so good at than you are good at. Isn't that true? And I think
100%.
And I think the thing is not to be worried about the fact that I'm not very good at that, because I'm good at this. So what Jeffrey's saying there is actually play to your strengths. So okay, I'm good at this bit, but I'm not very good at this bit, and allowing other people to be good at their own bits, and they're not very good at that bit. And that's all right, isn't it? That's okay.
Exactly. Kofi learns that the hard way, because he's just, bless him, he's not the most gifted rapper. He has not got the patience to sit and write down lyrics. So his rapping is not first rate, but he's got other skills that means that he makes it in the world of music and radio.
That's all you need. Okay, so music and telling stories using music, obviously within Kofi and in Musical Truth and stuff. How do you think music can help us sort of tell stories and also sort of share our feelings, I guess? There's sort of two parts to that. Any thoughts about that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, when I look back at a book like Musical Truth, every song in that book is telling a story of some description. It might be a personal story, so things that happened to the artist, or it might be a bigger story about a community. And I feel as though one of the songs that I write about in Musical Truth links to my own story, because I grew up in a place called Brixton in South London, which was a real hub for Black communities in the 1980s and onwards when I was a little kid. And there's a place I used to pass every day on the way to school called Electric Avenue. And there's a song called Electric Avenue by an artist called Eddie Grant. And what's amazing is that he talks about Electric Avenue because it was a place where there were uprisings that led to riots in the 1980s, and it was linked to struggles that the Black community in Brixton was facing. So when you listen to the song, you hear all of that tension and all of that anger and sadness, but you also hear the brightness of the music and the legacy of where Eddie Grant is from. And it's like a celebration, but also quite a serious song about political things. And I love that kind of music because it's giving you a message, it's inviting you to dance, it's making you think. So I feel like that's a really good example.
What's your advice? This is for any children watching today, on, like Kofi has to do, is sort of staying true to yourself when others are watching, because that's always a very hard thing as a kid, because you've got so many things coming at you.
I feel like what Kofi does amazingly well, his secret superpower, if you will, is he can see the best qualities in the people around him. So in the first book, there's an antagonist, a bully, a bit of a bully called Leroy. And without giving too many spoilers away, Kofi manages to see the best aspects of Leroy, and actually they become quite close. And he does that for everyone around him. It might be the old man at the bus stop with the red scarf who he and Kelvin sees, or it might be his sister's best friend, Shanice, who's always picking on Kofi, or even his older brother, or even a teacher, Mr. Downfield, his English teacher. And Kofi actually sees the best qualities in these people. And I think if you go through life looking for the best qualities in the people around you, it brings out those qualities, which means that you've got the best version of people around you. And that's where Kofi's strength really comes from. He's surrounded by people who trust him and believe in him because he sort of sees the best in them, which is quite a powerful thing for a child to get away with. Let's go. So this is from Kofi in a Brand New Vibe. There's the cover if you can see it. There we go. This is a part of the story where basically Kofi wants to make a song. He decided that it's no good just being on the radio and like spitting bars. Let's make a song. And they're all playing a Game Boy, which is like a Nintendo Switch, but from the old days. Google it. And they're saying, it's my go, it's my go. And they start saying, winner stays on, which is what we used to do back in the 90s. A full-blown argument was brewing, but Kofi's face lit up. That's it, he cried. That's what, said one of the arguing rappers, yanking the Game Boy out of his friend's grasp. Say that again, said Kofi breathlessly, darting over. No one had any idea what he was talking about. Say what again? Winner stays on, said Kofi. His eyes were gleaming as though he'd just unearthed the secret treasure trove, spilling with jewels. Huh? Kofi tutted and stood up in the middle of the room. He took his hands off his hips and started clapping out a steady rhythm. Clap, clap, winner stays on. Clap, clap, winner stays on. Following his lead, a few others started to join in, and Kofi started to speak rhythmically over the clap. Something, 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 winner stays on. Dat ba da ba ba, winner stays on. The rappers were getting into it. The slow pulsing rhythm filled the room, and everyone could feel the energy of Kofi's new chant. Mr. Thompson, Linton, and T looked on, intrigued, wondering where this was going. It was at that moment that Jamel suddenly sprang to his feet, eyes ablaze. He launched into a slew of lyrics, freestyling in between the winner stays on chant. Jump on the beat like winner stays on. This ain't a street fight, winner stays on. Bright like a street light, winner stays on. Dark in the midnight, winner stays on. The mood was electric. Jamal's freestyle has ignited an energy that no one had felt before. Kofi's vision was coming true in rapid time. Blockstar started beatboxing into his hands, creating a skippy drum beat using noises from his mouth. A huge grin was spreading over Leroy's face. This definitely wasn't lame. He stood up to join in. Yeah, winner stays on. When T's on the decks, he'll spin the same song. Don't try to test because you've got the game wrong. I'll bun this set down with a little flame on. 7 days all week, stay strong. We come like the queen when we get our reign on. Thunder, lightning, put a cape on with Superman flows and it didn't take long. Kelvin had that look on his face that Kofi had seen before when he was about to deliver something special. Taking Leroy's lead, he sprang into verse, slotting into the seamless back-to-back flow they perfected earlier that year. Winner stays on, but losers stay off. We rock the same song that T won't take off. Planes in the sky make your eyes stay high, but we're in the clouds looking down, they're not. We're on the rise like heat in July. Temperature rising, heat from a rhyme. We need a reload like choose the same song. Winners stay here, but losers stay gone. The room erupted into approval and cheers of laughter, with Mr. Thompson contributing a hearty round of applause while everyone returned to chanting winner stays on. And that's our hook, exclaimed Kofi. Every face understood what he was saying. Oh,
that's cool.
So dramatic.
I like that. That's
so
amazing.
dramatic. There we go.
And we got, see, unlike Kofi, you can rap, which is
there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's brilliant, Jeffrey. So fantastic. Okay, so Black History Month. Why is it useful for all of us, not just necessarily just black pupils? Why is it a useful kind of thing to look at and to study or do some work around? In your opinion, what do you think?
Well, the theme for this year's Black History Month in the UK is standing firm in pride and power. And I think that's really important because when you're looking at history, there are so many things that we have to learn from in order to get better going forward. I think that's just how history works. And hopefully over the years and the centuries, we just get better at being people. That's the way it should work. And I think Black History Month is a chance to think about what's happened in history and learn from it. That's why there's a lot of negative stuff in Black History Month, unfortunately, because unfortunately the world has got negative things in it. Racism, discrimination, xenophobia, all the things that make it difficult for us to get along. And in Black History Month, you can look at that and think about why it's happened and then learn from it together, because no one alive now invented any of these horrible things. That's really important to remember. We're just born into the world. And if we can't learn from what happened, we can't go forward. At the same time, standing firm in pride and power, there's a lot to be proud of. There's a lot of contributions made by many different people, particularly in the UK. Remember, Great Britain is called Great Britain because it's got a great number of different communities living in it, you know? So if we can't learn from each other and celebrate each other, we're never going to go forward. And I think that Black History Month is a real opportunity to learn from the past, to celebrate lots of different contributions, to join in the celebration, because a lot of Black history is full of joy and parties and celebration and creativity. And I feel like that's good for everyone. So if you want to learn a bit more about history and learn a bit more about how we got here and have a nice positive light going forward, Black History Month is the perfect opportunity to go into a wider history that you might not have learned at other times in the year.
Well said, Jeff. That's brilliant. But also, what's interesting when you look back at history, obviously there are lots of obviously very bad and difficult things in all sorts of ways, in all sorts of areas. But it's amazing when you find the people and the bravery of certain people, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you're not really ever heard of, you know. And I think that's one of the wonderful things is that, as you said, there is a lot of bad stuff and there is a lot of negative stuff, but there's also the most incredible stories of courage of people you never even heard of before, and they're huge examples to all of us, you know. So I think that's one of the wonderful things about looking at it, and it opens up history in all sorts of areas to do that for. Now, lots of our pupils obviously want to write, or they have to write in class, and some are going to be more enthusiastic about than others, or think they're not as good as others, and all the normal kind of stuff. But thinking about Kofi's world, can you think of a sort of in the way that he's inspired and his friends are inspired, like a quick sort of writing starter that could sort of like the kids could maybe try today? That we might.
I like that. I like that. I think one of the funniest sort of scenes in the first Kofi book, Kofi Right About Summer, is where Kofi, who is almost allergic to reading books, by the way, okay, this kid does not want to read. All right, he finds himself having to go to a library, which is full of books, and he doesn't want to be there, but he has to be in a library for one very important reason, which is to use the photocopier. I won't say any more. Now, a good prompt for your character, or if it's you, for yourself as the protagonist, is to think about a place that you don't want to go to, and then think of a really, really strong reason why you'd have to be there. And that gets you thinking creatively about maybe opportunities or different schemes or adventures that might be taking place. So Kofi, who doesn't like reading books at all, and doesn't really see the value in reading books. He's learning slowly. He ends up in a library because he needs to use the photocopier, and the library is the place that holds knowledge that he can actually use in order to get one of his schemes off the ground. So think about your character. Think about somewhere they just don't want to be. It's too boring. It's just a place they don't want to be. And then think about what would make them have to go there.
What do you hope readers feel or think after finishing Kofi and the brand new vibe? What do you hope it kind of gives them at the end of it?
I want them to have a sense of possibility and potential, because Kofi is one person in his world who can see things that other people can't see. He can see a whole world of music making and stars and rappers from his school and celebrities, and no one else can see it. And I want everyone to remember that the things that you love, it's not always about making loads of money or being the most famous person. That's not it. But they can actually give you a bit of guidance for your whole life. It can be the thing that energizes you. If nothing else, I want people to feel energized in their passions, because that's the thing that Kofi and his friends have. They're energized by their passion for music. And that is worth way more than money and likes and fame and popularity. Like, trust me on this, kids. Trust me.
So, Jeffrey, thank you very much. Any final words you want to say about Black History Month to any of the kids watching?
I want to say thank you. I want to say Black history is all history. So if you're confused as to why you might want to do Black History Month, if you're not Black or part of Black communities, just remember it's actually all History Month, and it's a great way to celebrate all of our shared histories. So yeah, make sure you get involved, because it's really worth it.
Awesome, Jeffrey. Thank you very much. Give the man a round of applause. Thanks very much, Jeffrey. Take care. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye. And thank you very much to Jeffrey Boakye there, and thank you to you all. Now, we've nearly finished. We've got a couple of minutes, and then we're finished with the show today. I want to leave you today in a kind of a message that kind of sums up everything that all the people on the show today. So from Jeffrey, of course, from Catherine and Tola, our live guests, but also the videos from Maya Angelou and Prince EA. This is a video. It's very short. It's only 2 minutes. It's from a person who's not part of the Black community. It's Dr. Jane Goodall. You might have heard of her. She spent her whole life. She was a scientist, a humanitarian, and spent a lot of her time studying chimpanzees in Africa, and showing how empathy and care, and how we need to show that for all things and all races and all people. As I said, she passed away earlier this year, and this is a short edit of a part of a message that was played after she died. And it says, Prince EA said, really, is that when we forget our shared humanity, color becomes a label, but when we remember it, those labels fall away, and we see the person, the heart, the hope. So a couple of minutes, do watch this, listen to this. It'll make you feel amazing about ourselves and what we can do in the world. Jane Goodall, and then we finish the show today. Here we go.
In the place where I am now, I look back over my life. I look back at the world I've left behind. What message do I want to leave? I want to make sure that you all understand that each and every one of you has a role to play. You may not know it, you may not find it, but your life matters, and you are here for a reason. And I just hope that that reason will become apparent as you live through your life. I want you to know that whether or not you find that role that you're supposed to play, your life does matter, and that every single day you live, you make a difference in the world, and you get to choose the difference that you make. I want you to understand that we are part of the natural world, and even today, where the planet is dark, there still is hope. Don't lose hope. If you lose hope, you become apathetic and do nothing. And if you want to save what is still beautiful in this world, if you want to save the planet for the future generations, your grandchildren, their grandchildren, then think about the actions you take each day, because multiplied a million, a billion times, even small actions will make for great change. We have to do everything in our power to make the world a better place, for the children alive today and for those that will follow. You have it in your power to make a difference. Don't give up. There is a future for you. Do your best while you're still on this beautiful planet Earth that I look down upon from where I am now. God bless you all.
Jane Goodall there with a message that kind of sums up the themes and for all my guests have said today on today's Black History Month special. Thank you very much for joining me today, and a powerful reminder there that caring for one another and the world around us with empathy and understanding is the same message that is the heart of our stories that shape us message today as well. Thank you very much for all of you for watching. Thank you to Catherine and Tola, of course, and Jeffrey, and every single one of you in your classroom for tuning into Mr. Dilly Meets Again. Keep reading, of course, keep creating, keep telling your own stories, because your voice matters. All of our voices matter. My name is Mr. Dilly, and it's time for me to say goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from me. Thank you for watching Mr. Dilly Meets. Goodbye, my friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.